All right, welcome back in, everybody. Appreciate you hanging with us. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube channel. We'll be joined shortly by Mike Quick. Mike, who has been calling Eagles games, I would say, Gunner, I'm going to guess 25-ish years.
Wait, I believe he's been behind the mic every year I've been here. I got here in September of '97.
So you're going to say 26 years.
Yeah, maybe. Well, we're going to find out. We got to ask him, but I thought it was long, a little bit longer than that. Huh.
All right. Well, you know what? Let's find out. There is the man himself,
Oh!
Mike. So has it been 25, 26? How many years have you been calling the game alongside your partner Merrill Reese on the radio side?
Man, I can't count that high.
Mike, I said I got here in September of '97. And you've been behind the mic every year I've been here, so that's 26 years.
Well, I go hut 1, hut 2, hut 3. That's as high as I count.
I got you.
All right, wait, Rob. Let's simplify this for Mike. What year did you start with Merrill Reese?
Oh, he's not answering that question.
Oh,
he said no, D-Gun. I'm out of here.
He ducked. He ducked on us.
Mike, if you could hear us, we lost you for a minute there, man. We'll get you straight.
Oh my goodness.
See, you pushed him too far, Derek. I'm blaming you for that, man.
No, he's mad. No, he's mad because the weather gods forced him off the golf course this morning.
On his off day. I know. It's not
the only
right.
way we can get Mike is if it doesn't interfere with his golf game.
Yeah, it worked out for us, but it didn't exactly work out for Mike. Actually, it's going to clear up. If Mike wanted to get a quick 9 in the afternoon, he could do it. Or tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be all right, Mike. We know Gunner pushed it too far, questioning you on there, and you took off.
So yeah, this is year. That was, by the way, that was Byron Evans trying to butt in, so I got shut off quickly. I'm pretty sure this is year 26, D-Gun.
26, okay.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. And
you started the year.
It's a phenomenal listen. I'll tell you where Mike is absolutely brilliant, because I listened to every one of the games with Mike and Merrill. Mike can spot what the penalty is immediately. I'm telling you, man. Like, sometimes it takes you a little. What happened? Who was it on? Mike. I'm telling you, you have it just on first sight. You know exactly where it is, what it is. There's an art to that. There is.
Well, I watched a lot of football in my days, and generally where the flag is thrown on the field many times will give you a clue as to what it is. But for me, I'm always watching, though. I try to see everything. And because of that, I don't know. I've been around this game a long, long time, so yeah, I do get to see a lot of stuff.
Go ahead, Gunner.
Mike, obviously the big question is, what is going on with this Eagles offense? And I think a simple way, as we've alluded to, is that these coordinators now have had an entire offseason to look at how the Eagles run their offense.
Yeah.
And they're doing things now that is causing Jalen Hurts in the offense to be a little bit jagged. Would you agree or disagree with that? Because I think A.J. Brown said it best after the first game. We're seeing looks that we're not expecting, and when the ball snapped, they're dropping into something else that we thought would be there, but it's not. How would you describe it?
So, yes. So teams have now had an entire offseason to study the Eagles and the success of this Eagles offense. And, there are no real mysteries. Sometimes you just are not prepared for what's going to be thrown at you. But once you've had time to sit down, diagnose it, you can come up with solutions. And that's what teams have done. Keep in mind, you've played against two of the better or the smartest defensive minds in the game so far. You talk about it's Bill Belichick. You're not talking about a great team in the New England Patriots, but when you think about the defense, they're always going to be pretty good defensively, even if they're not like heavily talented. The Minnesota Vikings, they may not have the best talent, and they do have a lot of talent, by the way, but they've got really smart defensive minds that are going to come up with solutions for issues that you present. The Eagles were very successful in the RPO game, and you saw in the first two games that they don't have that type of success right now. because teams have gotten smarter and teams are taking away things. They're not giving Jalen those big running lanes anymore.
Right.
So he's had a couple of running lanes on the quarterback draw, and he's had like 2 runs so far in the first 2 games. But aside from that, he hasn't had running lanes, and it's because teams are smart. They've made adjustments. So that player that they were able to put in conflict all the time in the RPO game and play off of that guy, whatever that guy do, it's wrong. No, they've gotten smarter about the way they handle that now. So they're playing the run, and they're also at the second level or sometimes third level, they're having an overlap guy to come around and make sure that he takes away that run lane. And it's as simple as that. They've gotten smart about the way they handle it. They're going to play that run, but at the same time, they've got a guy that's going to be designed to stop Jalen once he pulls the ball and try and go around the outside. So now what's the next move for the Eagles? And that's what we'll wait to see. How do they handle the fact that teams are now figuring out how to stop and how to defend the RPO?
And Mike, I would imagine Tampa would load the box considering the running success the Eagles had, right? I mean,
Todd Bowles.
Yeah.
Hey, you're speaking to exactly what I said. Now you've got another great defensive mind in Todd Bowles,
right?
Who he cut his teeth, Temple University, and he's been Washington. He played for Washington. He's been around the league as a head coach. Now as a defensive coordinator first, now head coach in Tampa. And that defense will look at what happened the first couple of weeks. So that's going to be a thing that the Eagles are going to have to deal with throughout the season.
Mike, speak on DeAndre Swift in terms of what he's added just to this running game, his shiftiness. I equated him last week to a Le'Veon Bell. He is so patient and has that explosiveness to really do what he's been able to do. I think, man, you talk about getting somebody on the cheap who is such a quality player. I don't want to see him running the ball 28 times a game, but, man, is he exactly what this running game needed.
He is exactly what they need because, when you've got a line, an offensive line that's able to move players the way they're able to move players, you don't need a whole lot. And I love his vision, his quickness. What's really cool to watch for me when I'm up in the booth is to watch him to start one way and get the defense going that way. But at the same time, he's looking for a hole. He's looking to use their momentum against them, put his foot in the ground and get north-south. And he's so good at that. Once they get him through the first wave of the defenders, the defensive line, he's a problem once you get into the secondary. Once you get to that level where the linebackers are, he's a real problem. I'm just looking forward to more of DeAndre Swift. But like you, D-Gun, he's not a kid that you want to have run 25, 28 times a game.
Right.
You don't want to put that type of load on him. But because the Eagles have had so much trouble in passing the ball early in the season, they're going to have to run it a little bit more. But I think you spread around the carries and make sure that Gainwell's getting his share, Boston Scott's getting his share. Because Boston Scott, quite frankly, can do a lot of the same things.
Yep.
Mike, did we all wrongly assume that it was just going to be a seamless transition offensively because Brian Johnson has been here and he knows Jalen so well? Like, I felt like we were willing to give the defense a little bit of a grace period with a new coordinator there. But with the offense, we were like, they should just be as great as they were last year. And we're seeing that it's not quite that easy.
Well, we're seeing that teams are smarter in the way they're playing this offense and taking away some of the things that they were really good. When they rush only 3 men, they're dropping 8 in coverage, and especially on the back end, leaving 3 safeties back. And underneath the 3 safeties, they're doing a lot of things just to try and confuse your quarterback and where the openings are in the defense. It takes some adjusting to. It does. And I think we did expect too much out of the offense based on what they gave us last year, but it's still a really good offense, and it's going to work. It's just a matter of just getting through the early part of the season where you start to figure out who you are and starting to figure out what teams are trying to do to stop you. Now, each season it's a new proposition unto itself, and you have to figure out who you are. And I don't think this team is there yet. I think we are still seeing a lot of preseason type of football. And that's just where we are.
Mike, Nick Sirianni said today that they're okay right now with their in-house options to replace Avonte Maddox, and although it has not become official yet, it looks like Avante's done for the season. Let's face it, we saw communication issues on the back end against Minnesota, and that's going to happen when you have a bunch of young kids. But knowing Howie the way you know him, because you know him better than I do you think Howie is standing pat with what he has now? Is he on the phones looking at potential options to maybe bring somewhat of a more veteran presence in here to help the back end of that defense?
D-Gun, I saw that they signed a punter this morning. So that tells you that Howie's still on the phones. And it's not just one position. It's like trying to constantly overhaul, make sure that he's covering all of his bases. And if they feel like that nickel spot is an issue, if James Bradbury is not the key to that, or one of these other young guys, they're certainly trying to do something, trying to figure it out to get the right people in that's available, because you don't have that many available people this time of year unless you're going to do a trade. So, I was still like checking the phones, checking the wires, trying to figure out if is there a better way.
Mike, let's look at a couple of real positives here, man. The young guys on the interior defensive line, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis. Throw Fletcher in there. Throw one of the older guys in there. And Milton Williams. I mean, that foursome right there.
Yeah.
Woof, I mean, have they been good?
They're so much fun to watch for me. And what's really cool in both these games, you go down to the fourth quarter because you really got to make sure that you're rotating enough, you're preserving these guys enough so that you've still got some firepower in the fourth quarter. Well, in both these games, we've seen Fletcher Cox, a 32-year-old, the veteran, the real senior guy, in the fourth quarter still making plays. Now, that to me, I know the young guys are killing it, they're crushing it, but when you manage them that way, then you're going to have a lot of success. I love what Jordan Davis is doing right now. Oh, my goodness. He's such a monster in the middle of that defense. Josh Sweat is playing unbelievable football. Milton's playing great. But Jalen Carter, he's a grown he is a grown man. And the things that he's doing right now, they're just mind-blowing to me. For a guy who's only played in 2 professional football games, I don't count the preseason, but for a guy who just to watch what he's doing, he looks like a veteran. The use of his hands, his quickness, he's got a move. It's not a Reggie White move exactly, but he'll get a guy going and he swats him so hard, and he's able to move these 300-pounders out of the way so he can get into the backfield. The big guys are just so much fun to watch right now. I think Josh Sweat is playing as well as anybody that plays that position right now. He's so long, and when Josh Sweat's like locks out, his arms are so freaking long that he can keep guys away. It's like when you had your little brother. No, it's like my big brothers, because I have 5 older brothers. Like they would do me, they would stiff arm me, and I'm swinging at them, and I'm trying to get to them, and I can't reach them. To do that to guys.
Mike, let me real quick. I'm not comparing him to but go back to Carter for a minute. I'm not comparing him to Reggie White or Jerome. I'm not doing that. But you played with those guys, right?
Yeah.
So you knew right away when you saw them, like, this thing's different. Do you see that sort of different trait with him, like, right away?
Oh yeah, no, without question. You could see it in Reggie. Jerome as a rookie when he came into the league, you could see it in Jerome, and he just had this nastiness about him the way he played. But he's having fun the whole time. He would laugh and joke, and then he would just whip you, and it was just that's the way Jerome was. This kid, he's really quiet, but boy, oh boy, when he puts his hand in the ground, look out, because he's coming on through.
Hey, Mike, to what degree do you think Hassan Reddick's thumb is affecting his ability to punch, extend his hands and punch, and to grab tackle shoulder pads so that he can either spin off or move them one way to make that bull rush the other way? I mean, we know it's a fluid process.
D-Gun, that's a big part of his game. You know, it begins with his speed, and that hasn't diminished at all. He still has that speed, but you really have to have use of your hands, both hands, for what he does, to get the offensive linemen, the tackles, get their hands off of him, to use his hands to snatch them or move them the way that he needs to move them. That's a big part of his game, and I think there's something lacking there until he gets his hand to full strength. I think he's still hampered just a little bit. I do.
Mike, how much? I think Nick called it a 2 on the scale of 1 to 10 of being anything. But what do you make of AJ Brown getting a little fired up on the sideline? And was that? Did you ever do that with Jaws or Randall or any of the guys you ever played with? Did you ever have one of those moments?
Would I do that?
No, I don't see you.
Yes,
doing that.
Yes, as a player, yes.
Maybe behind closed doors.
Receivers want the ball. Receivers want the ball.
Yeah. Receivers want the ball. We're always open, so give me the damn ball. So I just, it's a 2. It's really nothing. Yeah. I love the fact that they're that competitive, that they want to make sure that, okay, if that guy's getting the ball, I want it too. And I remember, like, when we would play the Cardinals back in the day, and Roy Green, for whatever reason, I kept up with his stats. And a guy like Art Monk, if Art Monk's on the other side and Art Monk's catching balls, I want to make sure that I'm in on the action too. I don't want that guy on the other side showing out and I'm not getting my share. And I know I'm as good or probably better than that guy. I understand it. The cameras are everywhere now, and they catch it when you're having conversations. I've had conversations with quarterbacks on the sidelines. Unfortunately, not to that extent where the cameras are all over it, but it happens, and I don't think it's a big deal. I think it's healthy. I think you want your guys to want it and want to be in on it, and as long as you don't go too far with it, and I didn't think he went too far with it, that's okay. I think that's healthy stuff. The competitor inside of that guy wants to make sure that I'm in on the action as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mike, do you think Brian Johnson is in some ways is being unfairly critiqued up to this point? I mean, he's a new guy on the block. The offense is still a holdover from what Shane Steichen ran, but let's face it, when you're a new guy, you want to put your own niche on it because it can only enhance you in terms of getting a head coaching job down the road. It has not been as fluid as we thought it would be, but it's only 2 games into the season.
Yeah, that's the main point. I think that it's just 2 games. And to me, because of the way the preseason is handled now, you cannot expect teams to come out and look as fluent as they should look in week 6 or 7. Now, we get to week 5, week 6, and things haven't turned around looking better and smoother and clicking on all cylinders at any point, then we got an issue. But to this point, I'm not concerned at all. I think Brian Johnson is really smart. I think he's got a great relationship with everybody on that offensive side. I think he and Jeff Stoutland are in lockstep, and that's really important. Not, the guy who's the run game coordinator and Brian Johnson, they have to be in lockstep, and I think they are. To me, it's not that big a concern. I feel like this is maybe the 3rd week preseason football kind of look, and maybe getting into the 4th week. Once we get to week 4, week 5 of the regular season this year, that should tell us a lot about who this team is. And I think right now we're just kind of feeling our way, trying to understand, players, what the other team is doing, what they've found out about us in the off season, what they're trying to take away, all of these things. They're juggling all of these balls right now, and I think they'll figure it out.
Mike, what do you make of what you've seen so far from the NFC East? Cowboys 2-0, Washington 2-0, Giants 1-1. Crazy comeback for the Giants. Washington, a wild game yesterday. Dallas looks darn good. What do you make of the other 3 teams?
Well, of course, Dallas looks really good. And everyone's talking about how great the Cowboys look, and they do look really good. And it really, to me, begins with their defense and the fact that they've got perhaps the best defensive player in the game right now. He's probably the most disruptive player, I should put it like that, in the game right now with all that they can do with Micah Parsons. And of course, during the regular season, they play really good football. And Dak's playing great. You know, their receiving core really good. So they look sharp. The Cowboys they're a good football team. I'm a little bit surprised at how well Washington is playing. I didn't expect Washington to play as well as they're playing, but, you know, they look good. I've always had a lot of respect for their head coach. And I think he has a way of motivating guys, getting guys to play good football. And I think Ron Rivera has done a great job down with Washington. And so they probably will be a little bit more formidable than I expected them to be. The Giants, they're going to be okay, but I don't expect a whole lot out of the Giants.
Mike, when you look at this kid, Sam Howell, down in Washington, how much does having the right – because everybody going into the season, like, who the heck is Sam Howell? You know, nobody knew much about him. But having the right OC in Eric Bieniemy, how much is that enhancing this young man's confidence? Because when you look at him play, you see the athleticism, you see the arm strength, and he's cool, calm, and collected in the pocket.
So I think the fact you mentioned it, I think the key to what they have going on in offense is having a guy like Eric Bieniemy, studied under Andy Reid for a long, long time, really understands the offensive game, really understands the landscape of the NFL. To have a young guy like Sam Howell paired with him, you've got good receivers down there. You've got a decent backfield in the running back situation. Eric Bieniemy knows how to run an offense. He knows how to pick away at defenses. He's really good at it. And when Sam Howell is paired with that guy, and that guy starts to give him the confidence, starts to give him these simple reads, starts to simplify the game for him so that you're not so cluttered, and that's what Bieniemy can do for him, then you start to feel a little bit better. You can play faster, and your results are a whole lot better.
Mike, we getting out on the links here with having a little extended period of time here? I know today's kind of nasty, but what's the game plan? Yeah,
because the Eagles played on Thursday night, guys, I had a really good weekend. I got to play some golf. I got to spend yesterday with my grandkids. My granddaughters were here yesterday, and we had a blast, and they completely wore me out. So I slept.
It sounds like Derek. Yes.
Welcome to the club.
That's good. That's good, Mike. Well, listen, looking forward to Monday night, man. Got Tampa, who's playing pretty well right now. You know, Baker Mayfield's doing his thing, and
how about
not
that?
Turning the ball over. It's going to be an interesting game.
How about that? Baker Mayfield's playing really well.
Yeah.
And I watched him on Sunday. I thought he played really well. You know, he's got a good group of wide receivers.
Yep.
It's going to be a good contest because I know that defensively the Eagles could have some struggles just because of the way they play defense. And it's going to be a good game. I look forward to it.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, although it's only 2 weeks in, to you, what has been the biggest surprise around the NFL when you look around at teams? What would you think has been one of the biggest surprises, whether it's negative or positive, in terms of all the teams that you've looked at?
It shouldn't be surprising to me, but I just really believe that the level of play at this point is just not what we expected it.
Yeah.
So, but what threw me off was the very first game, that Thursday night game, that was a really good football game. The very first game of the season. And then you go into that weekend, and it wasn't nearly as good.
Yeah.
So I see a lot of sloppy play throughout the National Football League, and I attribute that to the way the preseason is handled now in the league.
Right. Well said. Mike, listen, thanks for the time, man. Appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we're looking forward to Monday night in Tampa.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, Mike.
Hey,
Take care. That is Mike. 26 years, Derek.
26
years.
That's what I said. At least 26.
I know. You nailed it.
You know, he's been on the airwaves since I got here in September of '97. I've never known anything else other than Mike Quick and Merrill Reese behind the mic.
Yeah, he's awesome, man. He is awesome. He is very insightful. He's on things. He lays out what he thinks would he does it in a non-Tony Romo obnoxious, never stops talking kind of way, you know, where hey, you might want to look for this. It looks like I could see this happening. And Mike does an awesome job and was a phenomenal receiver back in his day. That's for sure. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to step aside. We're going to come back, Derek. We're going to do a little hybrid here when we get back. So we are going to tackle the NFC. We're going to go around the NFC yesterday and what happened, and mix in a little Phillies. Phillies took 2 out of 3 in St. Louis this weekend, Derek. It's crazy, man. We are really in the home stretch. 13 games left. 13 starting tonight in Atlanta with Zach Wheeler on the mound tonight against the Bravos. So we will do that when we come back. Don't go anywhere. Xander will do Jim Murray here going to break. But he's Derek Gunn. I'm Rob Ellis. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube channel. Let's talk about Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group, because knowing who to trust with your finances can be a real challenge, right? And if you're like me, and you went through a bunch of different people before, and you never really felt connected, never really felt satisfied, never felt like you were any kind of priority for them, it can be frustrating. But I found the right person in Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group, and I think you will be happy with him as well. Whether it's retirement planning, 401k review, insurance review, you might have a small business and you're trying to get your employee benefits off the ground. That is another resource that Jim can help you with. I know personally, I've entrusted my IRA, my 401k rollovers with Jim. It was the best thing I ever did. You give him a call right now, 610-996-4751, 610-996-4751. You could also email him as well, Murray, Murray.Jim@principal.com. That's Murray.Jim@principal.com.